Hey guys, this is another episode of the Believe in Padres Prospects podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, San Diego's #1 sports podcast network. It's episode 27. Where's the time go? Wade's out this week, and it's January, guys, so while nothing really imminent is about to happen, or nothing has been happening the last several weeks, not since that flurry of Preller activity we got around the winter meetings, it seems like we're probably done with the big activity for the winter. The winter leagues haven't been super exciting. We're all just kind of hoping Franchy Cordero escapes healthy. I think that's all you can pretty much ask for from him at this point. He's proven at the next level. We know what he can do. So just stay healthy, my guy. But spring training, shockingly, just around the corner. The Padres opened up play February 22nd. Man, that's early. Playing the Mariners in Peoria, obviously. Man, that just seems so early. That's like a month and a half away. Anyway, we'll have a ton to talk about as we get closer and closer to spring training. And then some really fun spring training battles during March. So left field is probably just Tommy Pham, but then there's center field, right field, catcher, second base. In the meantime, we're going to bring in our guest for today's show, and that's Kyle Glaser, Mr. San Diego himself. Before we get to Kyle, the people wanted it, and here it is. It's another Manscaped ad, and unfortunately we don't have Wade to read this one today, so it's going to be a lot smoother than last week's. It's 2020, and you know what that means? New year, new me, new balls. Men, listen up. Hairy bushes are so 2019. If you're going to pick up any New Year's resolution this year, I guess this could be it. Let it be to take care of your junk. Manscaped is making it easy with their grooming products. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer, their Lawnmower 2.0. That's an aggressive name for that thing. Has proprietary skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't nick or snag your nuts. Manscaping accidents are finally a thing of the past, and don't use the same trimmer on your face as you're using on your balls. That's just dirty. Manscaped also has the Crop Preserver, an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. You already put deodorant on your armpits. Why are you not putting deodorant on your balls? Get 20% off. Free shipping. With the code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV at manscaped.com. Start the new year off the right way by using the best tools for the job. Your balls will thank you. All right, friend of the show, Kyle Glaser is with us, San Diego's prodigal son. Follow him on Twitter at Kyle A. Glaser. Read all of his stuff at Baseball America. Kyle, thank you so much for coming back on. First things first, we had some interesting breaking news before the show started today. Matt Liberatore heading to St. Louis. According to Jeff Passan, along with low-level catching prospect someone and comp pick B for Jose Martinez, Randy Arozarena, and comp A pick going to Tampa. What's your gut response to this deal, and who do you like it better for?
I like it for both teams. The Rays getting some outfield help. Martinez can match lefties. Arozarena is a really, good speed and defense type of center fielder. Really can play all three outfield spots. While the Cardinals, they have a good system, one thing they didn't really have was a top flight starting pitching prospect. Ryan Helsley and Genesis Carrera are their two top pitching prospects, but both probably end up in the bullpen. Liberatore gives them a young, promising pitching prospect they can count on, potentially 2 or 3 years from now, as much as you can count on a pitching prospect. So I actually kind of like it for both sides. It makes sense for both. And, both teams, the Cardinals have some outfield depth, and I think they're still, equally a contender today as they were before the deal, as the reigning NL Central champions, whereas the Rays, are once again going to be right in the thick of a playoff race. They had pitching prospects to burn, and I think both teams gave up talent without hurting their long-term outlook, while also improving, just some areas of need within their organizations.
It might just be me, but I've always liked Liberatore kind of from a distance. And then when the Rays decide they are okay moving Liberatore, it makes me rethink my whole stance on Liberatore. Are the Rays an organization like that for you too? When they decide to move on from a really high level prospect, you start questioning that prospect?
No, not at all, actually. I just wrote a piece about this up on Baseball America. If you go back, the Rays for most of the decade have actually been one of the worst organizations in baseball at drafting. They had two big hits with Blake Snell and Kevin Kiermaier, but when it comes to the draft, they've actually been pretty terrible. There's maybe some hope here at the end with Brandon Lau and Nate Lowe, Brendan McKay. With Liberatore, I mean, I think, just the fact that the Rays decided they want to trade him doesn't mean anything. I mean, the Rays have traded plenty of good players who, as much as they're a really good organization, they've missed plenty. So I think this is a move where you don't judge it as something, a knock on Liberatore at all. You judge it as they needed to get, big league help. And to do that, they traded a very good pitching prospect. I mean, that's a lot of times that's the price of help and also moving up about 40 spots in the draft. And I don't see this as a knock on Liberatore at all. I just see it as the Rays, making a move to try and get better. And, Liberatore is going to go to an organization in the Cardinals that has a very, very good track record of identifying promising prospects and developing them to their fullest potential. So I don't see it as a knock in any way.
So you just released, you and Baseball America just released the Padres top 10 offseason prospects list, and you're slowly releasing all the teams kind of one by one. Did you do that list by yourself, or did you have some help on that?
So, I mean, I'm the Padres guy here at BA, so I put together the list. I do all the legwork on it. I do all the write-ups, but there's always a little bit of a collaborative process. We run names by other members of the staff. Some of our other employees, who cover the draft. Carlos Colazo, he has a lot of info on the draft guys. Matt Eddy is kind of our analytics guy. He can help run through some models and some analytics to find some numbers that either help a prospect's cause or maybe hurt it a little bit if it differs from some of the scouting reports. So it is me. It's my list. I make the ultimate call, but there is a lot of collaboration with other members of the staff.
It has to be a really fun list to make, even though the back end, I'm sure, is pretty difficult. The back end of the top 10, that is. Lots of really interesting names in that 10 to 20 range. Find the whole list at baseballamerica.com. I encourage everyone to go check it out. And we're not going to go through the entire list, obviously, but starting at the top, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about was Luis Patino versus CJ Abrams. What was the ultimate separation between those two guys, and what had Patino ultimately coming out on top?
As a 19-year-old who reached Double A with three potential plus pitches and a ton of athleticism. I think that in a lot of times the prospect world, people just kind of jump on the newest flavor of the month and forget about the other guy, even if the other guy has yet to, reach AAA. CJ Abrams is an incredibly talented young man. He's got a lot of promise, a lot of potential. But to be honest, it wasn't that close. I mean, Luis Patino, what he did at the Futures game last year on the national stage, showed everyone what he's capable of. This is a potential, front of the rotation starter, number 2 starter, maybe number 3. Who again, the youth, the level he's at. There's a long, long line of prospects who look great in rookie ball, get to full season ball, and things start to fall apart. I'm not saying that's going to happen to CJ Abrams. Again, we clearly believe in him. We put some pretty big grades on him, and we think he's going to be a very, very good player. But Patino's got similar to equal upside as a pitcher as Abrams does as a position player. And he's already, shown he can conquer 2 levels of full season ball. So it was actually a fairly clear, hey, he's number 2, and there wasn't a whole lot of debate about that from evaluators, either inside or outside the Padres organization.
I thought it was a little strange seeing 2 guys that are pretty much locks in the bullpen to be in a top 10. You don't see a lot of bullpen arms, I guess, in top 10s from organizations that have, the top 1 or 2 farm systems. So that's Andres Munoz and Michel Baez. Those are 2 relievers for you, right? And you don't see one of them being a starter.
That's probably 2 relievers. Munoz for sure. The Padres have some faith in Baez, still maybe starting. I do think he's a reliever in the end. But you go and look at most top 10s. The truth is, if you see 4 or 5 starters in there, odds are 3 of them are going to end up as relievers. And if, that's almost every organization, even if the team doesn't realize it yet. The Padres have just, made the move with those 2 guys. These are still 2 premium arms that are major league ready, that are, potentially going to help this team. I shouldn't say potentially, that are going to help this team this year. That's hugely valuable. I think, especially in today's day and age. Sorry, it's my dog whining in the background. That's
Is it dinner time?
No, the UPS driver.
Oh.
Again, I think it's something, this is a bigger discussion, but I think one of the biggest flaws in, the way people kind of do prospect evaluation is it's detached from major league value, which is really the only thing it should be attached to. And having a potential eighth inning guy and a potential lights out closer, those are two hugely valuable things teams pay a lot of money for in the open market. And if the ultimate goal at BA is we want you to pick up the 2020 prospect handbook 10 years from now and say, hey, the top 10 guys, those are the 10 guys that have the best and most fruitful major league careers of this entire list. And when you take into account the electricity both of those guys have in their arms, their backgrounds, as well as the fact they're already in the majors, as much as you can dream on, a guy like a Hudson Head or a guy like a Joshua Mears, these are kids in rookie ball that were not slam dunk first rounders. Hudson Head was a huge pop up guy, and the track record of huge pop up guys is actually not very good. Mears is very much a boomer bust type. He could be great, but he also could not get out of double A. So it actually, I thought it was kind of funny. That's been a reaction of a lot of people when in reality, those two were slam dunk top 10. I actually wanted to run Munoz up higher. I dropped him a little bit because of some of the reliever only fears. These are two impact big leaguers. And that's, every organization pays money for those types of talents, and the Padres are lucky to have them.
So who did you personally hate to leave off the top 10 the most?
I mean, I think Joey Cantillo. I really, there were 11 candidates for the top 10 here. That was really it. Joey Cantillo really showed that he's got a lot of promise and a lot of things to work with last year. He was one of the best pitchers in the Midwest League, made it up to Elsinore. And even though he was a 2017 draft, he was younger than a lot of the kids taken in 2018, same age as them, I should say. So he's younger than pretty much everyone in his draft class. He's 19, he's in high A. He's still growing into more velocity. He's got a really, really good out pitch in his changeup. The breaking ball is coming along. Again, we talk about, the goal is take a step back and say, okay, who are the 10 guys in the system right now that 10 years from now are going to have the best major league careers? I feel pretty confident that, the top 8 are all going to have really good careers. Number 9, I believe enough that there will be a career in there. And then if you ask me number 10, Cantillo versus Weathers, I cannot tell you with any enormous conviction that I would pick Weathers over Cantillo, but we went that way just given Weathers is pure stuff. But I think there's a very real chance Joey Cantillo is going to make me look very bad for this list down the road.
I hope you're right. I've been playing with him in a lot of trade scenarios this offseason as a guy I wouldn't mind trading. He still has a lot of value, but yeah, I've been a big fan of his since I heard about him earlier in the season. We'll get you out of here on this. I know you're pressed for time tonight. Continuing to stroke my Padres interest and reading and watching any national coverage of the Padres that I can. I really enjoyed Matt Eddy's little piece on Ronald Acuna, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Juan Soto, basically setting them up as the next big trio that will dominate for the next decade, comparing them to the trio of Trout, Harper, Machado from 2012, the mid-90s trio of A-Rod, Garciaparra, and Jeter. Which trio do you think ends up being the best when it's all said and done?
I mean, it's hard to beat, Trout, Machado, Harper. I mean, Mike Trout is literally the greatest baseball player anyone alive has ever seen. I mean, you have to go, well, maybe, I guess you
Barry
could have
Bonds
been.
would be the only guy I could think of that would challenge that.
Trout has actually outdone Bonds in every major category through this age. The only name that compares to Trout through this age is actually, you have to go back to Ty Cobb.
Yeah.
This is he, Griffey, Bonds, Trout's outdone all of them. You have to go back to, Mantle, Mays, that era of guy. And then really before that the real answer is Ty Cobb. So, and Harper, for whatever his flaws, is still a really, really good player who has an MVP award and has shown the ability to put a team on his back and carry it. Machado obviously is finishing up the decade as one of the better third basemen in baseball, and still young, still has another, at least 5, 6, 7 years ahead of him. Jeter, Garciaparra, Tejada was a great group as well. Jeter, you have one Hall of Famer there in Jeter, and, Garciaparra was great until he got hurt. Tejada was an MVP. I just think that middle group is you have to give that the edge right now. As great as Acuna and Tatis and Soto are, Trout's the carrying guy there, and there's no one as great as they all are. Trout's on a level by himself, and I don't think you can pick any of them to match him. As good as Acuna is, you even look at just what Trout did his age 20 season. It was still even beyond what Acuna did. So for me, that's the edge, is that trio. But you're talking about three trios of special talents that baseball fans should just sit back and appreciate, because they don't come around very often.
That's totally fair, and very hard to project the guys that are 20 years old to compete with the Hall of Famers. But last time we had you on, I pressed you on Acuna versus Soto versus Tatis, and you took Soto. There's still time for you to fix that if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think I go back, you take the bat. I'm not, there's, as good as, Acuna and Tatis are. I mean, again, you go back to Soto and what he's done at the level he's done it at, the ages he's done it. We are talking about someone that, again, the highest OPS anyone, a teenager ever posted since, Mel Ott comes out, back again his age 20 year, and he outdoes it. I mean, for while starting in left field for a World Series champion, and he keeps getting better defensively. He keeps growing as a hitter. Again, you would happily take all three of them, but I mean, my answer, when we talked about this, I think at the end of the season, I don't know why anything would necessarily have changed. I mean, you just kind of map it out. I mean, Soto, as good as Acuna has been, Soto out hit him last year, just straight up out hit him. As a left-handed hitter. And amazing as Fernando Tatis is, and he still has room to get better. I think there's definitely, room for him to continue to grow, not just as a defender, which a lot of people are focusing on, but even as a hitter, which is a scary thought given all his ability. Soto just has a much longer track record, having had 266 career games at this point, having had the league see him a second time through, having powered through the sophomore slump that afflicts a lot of players. I think given the information we have today, you still have to go with Soto.
And of course, we're just messing with you. I don't mind the Juan Soto pick at all there. There's no wrong pick there, but biased, of course, on the show. But Kyle, we'll let you get out of here. Thanks as always for coming on and talking Padres prospects. We'll get some broader prospect talk next time, maybe, because I love talking prospects and we tend to just focus on the Padres. But maybe we get you on before the season starts. Follow him at Kyle A. Glaser on Twitter. And Kyle, thanks again. Looking forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime.
Thank you so much again for Kyle coming on the show. I always have a good time talking to him. And hopefully the audience enjoys listening to him and they get to learn something as well. And he's from San Diego. I mean, there's a good connection there. Knows his stuff. Expand your minds, you stubborn Padres fans. Different opinions, not a bad thing. But I guess arguing is all we can do until the season starts. But hey, let's remember we're all on the same side. Doesn't matter who's right. All that matters is the Padres do well. That's my message of peace for the day. Let's shout out to Padres Twitter. Stop arguing, guys. Feels good. Anyway, before we get to the end of the show and my locks of the week, which have been fire if you've been paying attention for the last 9 weeks, we got to read from MyBookie. Christmas is come and gone, but the Super Bowl is quickly approaching. We've just seen what our teams are capable of this season. Now it's time to get your last bets in before the Super Bowl. Will the Ravens be able to get it done? Will Brady and the Patriots give themselves another ring? No. Spoiler alert. This copy's old. I bet you have a feeling. And like I did, bet the Titans money line, which paid off nicely. Head over to mybookie.ag to make your predictions a reality. MyBookie is one of the most trusted in the industry. If you're looking for a sportsbook to make some bets for the bowl games, there's one on Monday. I've heard LSU playing Clemson. MyBookie is where you want to go. Football's not your thing? No worries. MyBookie's got it all from the NBA to the Premier League. They've got the fastest payouts, best promotions, and a very helpful 24/7 customer service team. You can even pool your bets together for a bigger payout. Call it a parlay. Let's say you got a couple big favorites this week. Parlay wagers let you bet multiple games together, and if they all come through, you win big. The old money line parlay. Tried and true. MyBookie has more lines, better odds for the player than any other sportsbook around. If you join right now, MyBookie will match your deposit halfway, all the way up to $1,000. That means if you deposit $2,000, you'll get an extra $1,000 and free money to play with. All you have to do is use our promo code BLV to activate the offer. Once again, that's promo code BLV to get your extra cash from MyBookie. Bet, win, get paid.
Target locked.
So before we get out of here, thanks to MyBookie for setting up my favorite segment of the week. That is Lock of the Week. I am magically 9-0. It's been a tremendous run for me. My bonus tease last week failed thanks to New Orleans, who I'm sure ruined everyone's moneyline parlays and teasers. But my lock, Seattle, advanced. Thank you, Carson Wentz. Or I guess thank you, Jadeveon Clowney. Win's a win. Wade lost again, taking Buffalo. Wade's the coldest I've ever seen him. It was either a push if you had Buffalo or you lost, depending on where you got the line. I had it at 2.5. I think Wade had it at 2.5. Or no, I think Wade had it at 3 last week, but I didn't see it higher than 3. So best you did was push. Anyway, just fade Wade is the moral of the story. My lock this week, NFL playoffs, of course. This was a tough one. All the lines are pretty big right now. I think the lowest line is Seattle at Green Bay. It's only 4 points. But I am taking Baltimore at home versus the Titans, who are coming off the win of their season easily, and probably the biggest win since the Music City Miracle. Like, Titans have done nothing but been irrelevant for the last decade. But the weather is going to be shockingly good in Baltimore for this game. Tennessee will not be able to keep up with Baltimore scoring points. I think it's that simple. It's a 9-point spread right now. Baltimore laying the 9. Tennessee doesn't score quickly. We saw them dominate the game pretty much, I think, with New England, even though it was relatively low scoring. I don't think they can keep up with Baltimore. If Baltimore gets a 10-point lead, Tennessee's not going to be able to catch up. And then I think it could get out of hand in the second half. And I'm thinking 2 scores decides this game, and Baltimore wins fairly comfortably. It might be kind of a close game for most of it, but late point magic is going to help cover this. I mean, we're not losing, guys. So take Baltimore and lay the 9 points. Bonus pick, LSU on Monday. I like LSU. They're 6.5 points right now, favored. I'm fine laying those points. I think LSU wins by the touchdown at least. They're a force of nature this year. They're not going to lose. And Clemson's just been back in their way. And they should have lost last week. They're not as good as Ohio State. They're not as good as LSU. I don't see them striking oil twice in back-to-back games. So LSU is your bonus pick. Thank you for listening. Please follow the show's Twitter accounts at FireFarmHands. And if you enjoy the show, subscribe. We're on all your favorite platforms. You're listening to us on one of those platforms right now. Examples are iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeart. You can also find us at Believe.com and at Believe Podcasts. Please leave your comments, questions, concerns, and your rating of the show on all platforms. You've been listening to Believe in Padres Prospects on the Believe Podcast Network, San Diego's #1 sports podcast network. I'm Ryan Hart. See you guys next week. Toward your destination, though you may find from time to time.
But what stood out during the season was his personal war with Mets rookie Pete Alonso. When Alonso won Rookie of the Month in April, Paddock said, quote, "Does he deserve the award? Absolutely. But I'm coming for him. We'll see who the top dog is," unquote. Paddock got the short-term win, striking out Alonso twice.
Whose team is going to be better next year? Because the Padres are one of those teams that people have an eye on, thinking they can make the jump.